Order, order. And welcome to today's Select Committee hearing, the first session of our inquiry into science and regulation of hair and beauty. The committee often says that science is everywhere, it's all around us, it's part of our daily lives, and that's true in the case of beauty products and hair and nail salons. And one of what we are looking to do today is to hear from the charities and experts in the beauty and sector. Hair and beauty is a major industry. It's one that provides income to many female entrepreneurs. However, the chemicals involved are often powerful and they can be toxic, and it's important that its use is properly regulated and enforced and understood. We are very pleased to welcome an individual who has experienced the harm that a beauty treatment can cause. Thank you so much for coming to speak to us today, Victoria. I'm going to hand over to Lauren to ask you some questions.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Victoria, for coming in today and taking time out of work to come and share your experience. I think it's going to be incredibly powerful and important for people to hear. So just to start off with, can you talk me through what happened? What happened?
Yeah, of course. Working in the professional makeup industry, I was aware of Botox, fillers, all of those things, and I'd started to have Botox, say 10 years prior to what happened, never had any problems whatsoever. Never looked overtly permanently shocked or fake. It just was a natural look, and I was never hid it at all. We went into COVID, and a lady that I knew from my village had said to me, my daughter can't come over from Dubai because of COVID had started, and I had this appointment booked for ages. The lady's coming to my house to do my Botox. Would you like to use the appointment? And to be fair, stupidly, I bit her hand off. I said, yes, I didn't do any research because she'd used her for a long time. I'd known this lady for years. So I didn't really think anything more into it. I went round her house. I did the, which was, I thought at the time was normal because of COVID, you wasn't doing, salons wasn't open, etc. Had to wear the mask and everything. Had to sign the paperwork as you did normally. So there didn't seem to be anything that would differentiate her from the professional that I'd always used. The difference was it slightly was more painful. I'm not really a wimp when it comes to having anything done. I've had a child; it's not a major issue. But it stung, which was unusual. But I thought, okay. Anyway, carried on, and my timeline, because it was a while ago, my timeline's not that brilliant, and I could check back later if you need me to. But within a couple of weeks, I started to get these dots, these spots, which were, there was two here and one sort of either side here. So I contacted her and I said, this is strange, because normally the effects of the Botox start to work. You don't go like, whoa, and you're completely like that. That isn't how it works. But you would have this, and it's a slow feeling. Didn't have that, but these lumps started to appear. So I contacted the lady, and she said, oh, no, it's just, I changed the saline. Well, saline's not going to make any difference whatsoever. We all know what that is. So anyway, I carried on, and what then started to happen was these boils. Ooh. Okay, now at one point, the boils was the size of a £2 coin. Oh, the base of it then is filled with blood and pus. Sorry if you've just had breakfast. But it was a case of, now, some filming and things still had to go on. I'm a professional makeup artist. I can't even wear a mask because the mask is touching these things. And I can't be in somebody's face. Yeah, it was horrific, and they were so vile to look at. So I then spoke to her. She was very unhelpful, and she just said, you know, I don't know. I'm a single mum. I said, snap. Yeah, I'm a single mum. Don't ruin my job. You know, I need to work. Woman to woman, I need to work. My parents was living in Cyprus. I'm on my own with a teenage son. And I was getting depressed. I was drinking because I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. I phoned my doctor, FaceTimed the doctor, and she said, dear God, what have they done to your face? You need the timeline, like the FDA, the prescription. You need anything like that. So I then managed to get hold of her supplier, who was a very rude man. And when I said I'd spoken to my GP, and this is what I need from you. Everyone has a prescription. Everyone has a story. You should be able to get to the base of it, whether it's food, drink, medication, whatever. And he just went berserk. Started calling me every name under the sun, put the phone down and blocked me. As I just said to Lauren, I've got all of these things. If it does help to tell a story for you moving forward, not that it's pinpointing a particular person, but you can understand the kind of people that I'm talking about. So then I started to have to go and have these things drained. At this point, the lady that done it got in contact with her original prescriber, who knew that she hadn't got this particular vial of product from her or through her. So then this really helpful lady, and I really can't remember her name, got in touch with Ashton from Safeface. And that's where the ball started to roll and the changes started to be made, because they started to help me. And they gave me steroids, they gave me all these different things. I spent about $8,000 at a private place having them drained, to the next day or the day after they'd filled up again. I then went to a place not far from here on my son's 13th birthday, had to drive there, where they'd had to cut each area out, and it was a 3 mil circumference, say all the way round, from each one, and then try to stitch them with like a lumber stitch, which this one here tore several times. And that was the last bit of help they could do. They cut it out as much as they possibly could. If these people had tried to help me at the beginning, it possibly wouldn't have gone that far. But it did, and it went on for months.
Wow. Can I just ask you on the supplier front? So you were absolutely right to say that the kind of Botox injections are via prescription, so a doctor signs them off. So can you elaborate on when you called the supplier, did they have a prescription? No. He was very, very,
I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, cocky, arrogant, dismissive.
He had no records.
You know, I worked in cosmetic camouflage for a makeup manufacturer, so I knew, like for the Ministry of Defence, I knew you have to be able to supply, you know, the health and safety data sheets. You have to be able to supply all of this information. I'm not an idiot.
No.
I might sound like one, but I'm not. You know, from his point of view, you know, you're a divvy makeup artist. Well, I know what I'm talking about. And he just was vile. And the lady tried to lie. I asked her to provide me with all of the information, and she actually said, I will ask for it once I get my next shipment because I've paid for it. Right? So these are the sort of people that you're dealing with. And if I was to say to you that any way that you could try and find these kinds of people, they are all on social media. I have received emails from this same lady who done this to me all this time ago about having fat-reducing injections, about what's it, vitamin D, or I can't remember, loads of things. Having blood taken out, spun round and put back in. There's all kinds of things that they do.
Yeah, wow. So you're saying, well, you're clearly implying that this supplier was on the black market, and this is a huge industry on the black market. So you then looked through right, where do I report this happening? Did you go to the police? Where
I didn't, and Ashton said to me on several occasions, you should go to the police. And I thought, look what's going on in this country. How can I go to a police station and say, Missy Stupid here didn't do her research, and I've had this happen to me? How do I do that? I don't know. I couldn't. And I should have. I know I should have. But where do you start with that? It's embarrassing. It's not. I've been on telly to try and stop this from happening to other people. Yeah. But the police, they've not got time to deal with stuff like that, surely.
I think they've got every time to deal with this sort of stuff because this is incredible. Yeah, it's affected.
It will affect me for the rest of my life.
100%.
These things I have to have injected, 50 injections per one with hard and soft fillers because the indentations are about this size, okay? And they have to use a scanning machine because of the main artery to fill them so that you don't have these big indentations on my face the whole time. And they last about 5 years. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. So these people that you've just described, these people are still operating and still doing, offering a service which is not up to standard. Do you think the standards are good enough at the moment? Do you think they should be regulated? Do you think they should still be operating?
No, they definitely shouldn't. And I think, you know, it's a bit like the whack-a-mole thing. You get rid of one, another one will come. Yeah. You know, and I think the only way is by having little spies, I don't know how else, scrolling through the internet, starting the conversations. You know, I have been somewhere for Botox, which is a regulated person, and they said, well, you can have the proper option or you can have the cheaper option, winking, They know what they're doing. Yeah. They're selling the fat jabs, they're selling the things off the market because they're making more money out of it. Stupid thing to say it to me, you know, but they're everywhere. Yeah. And really, the only way is that they go through an aesthetics person in a shop through. You know, when you go to Save Face, where it actually says these are registered, regulated people. You can go to Brentwood High Street and have whatever you want done.
Yeah. And so you're kind of describing a secret shopper kind of approach. And
yes, absolutely.
What do you think the consequences should be or could be for those people that are deciding to choose less safe routes? Because let's face it, these things that they are injecting are I could have honestly, and this is quite a brutal way to put it, I was ready to commit suicide. I couldn't leave my house. I was on mental health medication and I was drinking far too much alcohol. I didn't know what to do with myself. And with a moody teenager in the horrible, you know, it was February, it was his 13th birthday, it was hell. Yeah. And it did ruin my life. I'm back now, but it did. Yeah. And it might sound extreme to some people, but that's what my industry was, and I didn't want to do anything. Yeah. But going back to the original question, if you take away their stock and close their shop and strip them of any qualifications that they do have, because they don't have the right to keep them qualifications if they're pretending to do something that they shouldn't. Yeah. You know, I couldn't go on a professional makeup job without the insurance, without the qualifications, and work on a film set, because I would never work again, and it would be made. My name would be known. Yeah. I think it should work the same. Yeah. So I believe just looking over at time, the government have consulted last year on increasing licensing, regulations, those sorts of things. So it'd be really interesting when we look at those proposals and marry it up with what you're saying and asking for. I mean, is there a last question, I think? What's your big ask? What would you like to see change in order to stop this?
I know everyone's trying their best, and I do believe the secret shopper approach is the way. I don't see how else, because they're going to lie. They're all working from their back gardens. Yeah. You know, or they're going around people's houses. I don't see any other way to try and even start the ball rolling, and maybe the scaremongering will get them to stop. I don't know. Yeah. But stop it if you can.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Victoria.
Yes, thank you so much for being here this morning, Victoria, and for your evidence.
You look fabulous, by the way.
You do actually. That's it. You do look fabulous, and we really appreciate your sharing your experience with us, because I know it's made an impact on all the members of the select committee here. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Order.